Vocal, entrepreneur, idea man, driven. Our next speaker is quick to provide a straightforward answer, sometimes without a chaser. But that's oftentimes what it takes to gain success and remain that way. He's certainly a visionary, his business's growth attests to that, and he's more than willing to share some of the secrets of his success if it means a healthier industry. I'd like to next welcome to the stage Tom Bronson from Granbury Solutions.
Wow, I wore the same jacket. So, change starts at the top, right? But perhaps change at the top is not where you think it is. If your company is like most, ultimately the big problems in your company probably boil right up to your desk, the desk of the CEO. Why? Because that's the natural order of things, right? I mean, after all, the buck stops here. And when that problem reaches your desk, I'm going to be willing to bet that most of the solutions to those problems involve some sort of change. Changing a process, perhaps changing some of the talent, perhaps changing your culture. What I'm going to share with you today is a simple principle on how to solve problems in your organization. I first learned of this principle from one of my greatest mentors, and Stephen, I really appreciate you in this regard. I also lost one of my greatest mentors almost 20 years ago, my father, and the information that he was trying to pour into this thick skull of mine is still seeping through. He said to me quite simply right after I graduated college, "Son, you can't beat a man at his own game. If you really want to learn how to do something, then you need to talk to the folks that do the work, because they are the ones that really know how to get the job done." And not long after he delivered that pearl of wisdom, I had an opportunity to experience it firsthand. You see, I'd grown up in rural North Carolina, and in our backyard, we had a street lamp, or a safe light. And so when I bought my first house at age 23, one of the first things I wanted was a street lamp in my backyard. Why? I have no idea. Probably only because that's the way I grew up. So I called one of the largest power companies in the US, Duke Energy, and I said, "I'd like a safe light in my backyard." And they said, "Sure, we'll send an engineer out to meet you and talk through the process." So I met the engineer in my yard, and he explained to me that after he'd looked at the neighborhood, that the power source was 2 doors away. So they were going to have to set a pole and then trench through my yard, through 2 of my neighbors' yards, underneath 3 driveways in order to reach the power source. And that would take him some time to come up with a plan. So 4 months later, a team of engineers at Duke Energy came up with this plan on how to execute the work. And then I got the call from Larry. Larry is the guy that actually does the work. And he said, "Mr. Bronson, would you meet me in your backyard? Because we're going to figure out where to set this pole, and we have one chance to do this right." And so I met him in my yard. We marked the spot for the pole, and then he pulled out these elaborate plans that had been developed by a team of engineers back at Duke Energy. And 30 seconds later, he wadded up the plans and he threw them in his truck. And he said, "Those engineers are a bunch of idiots." And I said, "Why is that, Larry?" And he said, "They want me to trench your yard, trench through 2 of your neighbors' yards, go underneath 3 driveways to get to power down the road, when I have power right there." And he pointed to the back of my house. He said, "You see that power meter?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he said, "What do you think goes into that?" I said, "I don't know, power?" And he said, "Right." He said, all I have to do is tap that line right before it reaches your meter, and I've got the power I need and dig a 20-foot trench. You can't beat a man at his own game. Now, what did I learn from that, and how can you use that information to transform your business? Look, we've all got challenges we're trying to solve, right? Problems we're trying to overcome, broken processes that need to be fixed, and I'm willing to bet that when those reach your desk, that 9 out of 10 of you solve those problems in one of these 3 traditional ways. Number 1, you bury your head in the sand and you hope the problem goes away. Now, I am astounded at the number of leaders that I know that actually use that process. Number 2, you try to solve the problem yourself. It is your business after all, right? Or number 3, you gather your senior folks around the conference room table and you hash out some sort of solution, which is most certainly going to be misinterpreted by the people that do the work, you know, like Larry, the Duke Energy guy. What I'm suggesting is an alternate approach. Decisions have to be made at the top, right? What I'm suggesting is that you invert that organizational pyramid where the most important people still reside at the top. That's where decisions should be made. Why? Because those are the folks that do the work. Those are the folks that talk to your customers every day. So when we're faced with a challenge at my company, I talk to the folks that do the work. Why? Because they know more about the work that needs to be done than I do. They certainly know more than our executive team does. They probably even know more than their supervisor does, and that knowledge means something. So how do I put this into practice in a practical sense in my company? When a problem rises up, a big challenge, I gather the troops. And I mean all the troops, the folks on the front line, the most important at the top of the pyramid. I gather the supervisors, the executives that are involved in the problem, and we gather together in the conference room, and then we define the problem, and we set out to solve a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Then the next step is we start brainstorming solutions. Every solution means something. All the knowledge at the front means something. So we brainstorm those solutions. Everybody's discussion is very important. And then I cut off the conversation, and just before I leave the room, by the way, the solution's not reached yet, right? Just before I leave the room, I tell them, okay, you have the resources that you need to solve this problem. More importantly, you are empowered to come up with a solution, and then I want you to take action. And they're gonna take the right action. Why? Because it's their plan. So, what are the results? In my company, there are too many than I can count in the 20 seconds I have left. But let me tell you a couple of them. Number 1, we have happy employees who are empowered to go out and make decisions. More importantly, we have a lot of happy customers. Why? Because they talk to happy people who are empowered to make decisions. Look, there are always challenges to solve. There are always things to do. And those problems sometimes will boil up in the organization, and they still do that, but not as often in my company, because the power or the people that are actually doing the work are the ones that solve those problems. Did I mention, by the way, that we have happy customers? Very happy customers. Our productivity is very high, because in some cases, we've actually cut the time to solve a problem in less than half, and that's huge. It can be huge for you. For us, it's been an absolute game changer. That makes us an agile, fast-moving company in this highly competitive game of technology that we all play. By the way, go Rangers. So, thank you very much. If you hear nothing else from me today, if you hear nothing at all besides the Go Rangers part, then I want you to hear this. Talk to the folks that do the work. Why? Because those are the folks that know more. Empower them. It will change your company. It will change your life. And I promise you, it will change the way you look at the world. Thank you.